back in the kitchen.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you all tuning in today. I found an interesting little brouhaha happening amongst the awfuls, the affluent white liberal females they're having a moment right now. Apparently, one of their cohort has written a book about her life, her romance, how she fell into a thruple, a trimance. I don't. What do you call a relationship with three people involved? I don't know. I don't know the word for these things, but all of her girlfriends and all the feminists who came across her book or whatever, they're crying foul. They don't like how the man is doing her. They think she got forced into the throuple. And so now, of course, after years, by the way, after like generations, not even decades, but generations of a succession of different feminist writers effectively attacking and tearing down all the bonds between heterosexual men and women, making the very idea of marriage and monogamy itself something like an oppressive dynamic that men oppose over women to their own detriment, by the way. And now we've kind of come all the way full circle where even the polyamory relationship is now patriarchy, apparently. Women have ran so far from the patriarchy that they crept up on the patriarchy and caught the patriarchy all over again. It's crazy how that works. And so we're going to talk about this whole thing today. Women running so far from the patriarchy that they ran right back into it. It's as if no matter how far you go, you fall right back into my arms.
I'm in charge.
Do you feel in charge?
I am your wife.
And that gives you power over me?
I'm making the breakfast food.
And they have been delicious.
I'm in charge.
Shout out to the traditional, oppressive, heteronormative, patriarchal relationships. We ran so far away from these concepts that, like I said, it's a question. Now, is polyamory the patriarchy too? And I want to let you listen to this article from the Atlantic as we get into it, because you got to hear Lindy's story. You got to understand why all the girls are afraid for Lindy. The girls believe that Lindy is in an oppressive patriarchal throupleship, and they want better for Lindy.
5 a.m. I'm up with a crisp Celsius energy drink. Running 12 Celsius at your local
Labs and NOAA, News over Audio, using an AI voice. You can listen to more of the world's best journalism on the NOAA app or at News over. She embraced adjectives that were meant to demean her. Loud, fat, shrill. When Lindy shouted, women listened. That background is what makes the publication of her new memoir, Adult Braces, such a cultural moment. Adult Braces is many things. A paean to the varied landscapes of America, an advert for #VanLife, a reminder to be grateful that your partner hasn't talked you into a throuple with a much thinner woman. It is also the tombstone for millennial feminism, that swirling brew of media Twitter, blog snark, the great awakening, wailing on Lena Dunham, fat positivity, and boring straight people identifying as queer through accounting tricks. To read Lindy West is to gaze backwards in time, to an era when it was acceptable to write whelp in copy. West lived the millennial writer's dream. She rose from blogging for the Seattle alt weekly The Stranger to a similar job at the new media darling Jezebel, and went on to write columns for legacy outlets such as The Guardian. On the side, she published a New York Times best-selling memoir, Shrill, and turned it into a television show that ran for 3 seasons. She left Twitter after being bombarded with abuse, but remained unbowed. Sure, #MeToo was a witch hunt, she wrote in the Times. I'm a witch and I'm hunting you. There was even a fairy tale ending, with a handsome musician named Ahamafule Oluo, who loved her just as she was. My wedding was perfect, she wrote in 2015, and I was fat as hell the whole time. Can women have it all? It looked like Lindy West could. In light of this, Adult Braces makes two big claims. The first is that quite a lot of the above story, the authorized version of the life of Lindy West, was a buffed-up version of the truth. Getting death threats was not character building, not some little online brouhaha, but psychologically disturbing in a way that spilled over into her offline life. The trolling was so extreme that Monica Lewinsky reached out, she writes. She felt like an outsider on Shrill, reduced to hearing other writers discuss whether her real dad's death was too much of a downer to include in the series. Her fatness wasn't only a joyful expression of her appetites. Instead, she has now realized that I am at my biggest when I am at my saddest. Even her relationship wasn't all that it seemed. In her 2019 essay collection, The Witches Are Coming, she had written that she and Oluo, her best friend and a once-in-a-generation musical talent, had a dawn ritual where they lay in bed talking for hours. In Adult Braces, she adds that, "What I omitted was that we'd only developed that a ritual to mitigate a toxic pattern we'd been stuck in for years. I'd wake up anxious, I'd vomit my anxiety on Aham, he'd snap at me for triggering his anxiety, I'd feel alone and unsupported, I'd stare at him with tears in my eyes until he had a panic attack, he'd zone out for the rest of the day and not listen to a word I said." At the same time as it offers a revisionist history of West's 2010s, Adult Braces makes another grand claim, that West is now polyamorous and loving it. Yes, she might have been upset when a fan texted her with the news that Oluo was out in public kissing another woman. Even then, she admits halfway through the book, that wasn't the whole truth. I told you Aham was secretly seeing one woman in 2019. He was actually seeing two. But really, she absolutely adores her and Oluo's now mutual girlfriend Roya, to the extent that through sheer force of will, she has become bisexual. It only took driving a van from Seattle to the Florida Keys and back, while also undergoing cosmetic dentistry to realize this. When I read Adult Braces, my instinctive reaction was, I don't believe you. To me, it seemed obvious that Oluo, who is mixed race, had successfully used West's desire to be progressive against her. He believed that monogamy was, at its root, a system of ownership. I had to admit that perhaps I didn't feel it as keenly as a white person. Oluo had also rebranded himself as a non-binary he-they, perhaps to shrug off any suggestion that he was acting like every harem-patrolling patriarch in history. Now, I know plenty of people who have come to a different understanding of their sexuality as adults, mostly later-life lesbians, or LLLs. But it seems an unlikely coincidence that the first woman West has ever been attracted to was already her husband's girlfriend. Not least when the book includes this line. Being cool about polyamory felt like a growing imperative in progressive circles. The reaction to the book has been fascinating, by which I mean that basically no one else believes West's account of her polyamorous relationship either. This discourse has become so overwhelming that in a recent Substack post, West expressed annoyance and defensiveness that anyone would question the latest version of her story. My life isn't subject to public audit. I already gave you what I wanted to give you. This might be true, although I would say again that if you don't want people picking over your personal life, avoid writing a memoir. Nonetheless, I do feel great sympathy for West. How was she to know that the great omerta of millennial feminism, that we had to take whatever people said about their life stories at face value, had broken? Over the past half-decade, our unchallenged deference to people's own declarations about their lives has collapsed. We saw too many flimsy or obviously politicized accusations sneak under the wire of Believe Women. Just think of Tara Reid, whose unconvincing claims of sexual assault against Joe Biden were seized on by Republicans, and who announced that she had defected to Russia in 2023. We have watched as former icons of body positivity shot themselves up with GLP-1s at the first opportunity.
Now, let's stop for a second and just recap a little bit of what we learned, right? So this woman, obviously not a beauty queen, right? She's not going to win any awards for her physical appearance, really. and she finds this person of color, right? He's a mixed race POC guy, and it's not like he's like uber, good looking. He's like little chubby brown dude or whatever. And even then, I guess she's losing out on the looks matching part of the thing. It may be in her own estimation as well. There seems to be a little bit of unbalancing here in the imbalancing rather in the attraction department. The attraction is just probably not really the best thing ever. And she's married to this guy now. They're not having a great relationship already. And then at some point, she finds out he has a girlfriend. And after her POC lover introduces another woman to their relationship, she suddenly discovers, because she is a very proud, progressive, ally type of a woman, she discovers she's now a lesbian because she really, really wants to keep her POC marriage going.
Suggesting that they did not, in fact, feel happy and healthy at any size. Some of them, like Lizzo, maintain that they only tried GLP-1s, but have actually lost weight through mind over matter. If you believe that, I've got a crystal flute to sell you. The debate around West's book has focused almost exclusively on litigating the happiness of her relationship, but Adult Braces offers another example of the collapse of self-identification. At one point, her therapist, Judith, suggests that she might have ADHD. West is skeptical, but she has always been disorganized, though high-achieving, and figures, why not get a prescription for stimulants? Sadly, her health provider has other ideas. Dr. Buzzkill tells West that she will need to speak to her mother, since, as the DSM-5 states, ADHD is a disorder that is present from childhood. I should have said no, West writes. I was nearly 40 years old at this point. My word on my own life should be sufficient, and under no circumstances should a medical professional need to call my mommy. My word on my own life should be sufficient. There it is. This, to put it bluntly, is not how medical diagnoses work, or I would have had a brain tumor 15 times so far. But it is the millennial mantra. I am the captain of my ship, the author of my life, the protagonist of reality. Incidentally, this is the same logic that uncritically affirms young children's assertions that they are the opposite sex. That position is also part of the progressive package endorsed by West, despite her writing this about GLP-1 prescriptions for adolescents. Wegovy has been approved for children as young as 12, when we don't even know the long-term physical effects, let alone the mental ones. Wow. Sounds like we should be very careful about powerful, life-altering drugs and probably not accuse anyone who has questions about them of secretly wanting chubby kids to die. The interesting question is why West craved an ADHD diagnosis so badly, apart, presumably, from access to the delicious fruits of Big Pharma. When Judith introduced the notion I might have ADHD, a weight of shame I didn't even know I carried was vaporized, she writes. To me, this is a very telling remark about the milieu in which West has found herself. Perhaps the greatest hallmark of millennial feminism was how harshly it treated women. We were the ones who were supposed to give up our boundaries, rewrite our sexualities, and defenestrate our heroines. Oh, so you admire the suffragists for passing the 19th Amendment? Incorrect. They were white feminists. And if we were ever fallible, we were supposed to be very, very ashamed. This is why so many women who considered themselves left-wing, myself included, eventually parted ways with millennial feminism. At the beginning, the movement felt intoxicating and liberating, but it soon became clear that sticking with millennial feminism would have required submitting ourselves to a voluntary lobotomy. After all, Lindy West essentially did. The entire ADHD passage in Adult Braces shows a naturally funny writer wrestling with the injunction that huge swaths of life are exempt from even the mildest mockery. She concedes that other people might be part of what she calls the social media ADHD self-diagnosis boom, with behavior that frays the edges of credibility. Not everything can be because of your ADHD, babe. But of course, this could not apply to her. As an aside, it appears that West has learned to manage her disorganization the same way that many men do. She now has a wife. In her post defending their relationship, she notes that Roya is excellent at watering plants, obtaining pet insurance, and sending calendar invites. For me, writing conduct manuals, that is, instructing readers on the latest points of political etiquette, was no way to live, and both the style and content of my writing has changed over the last decade. One of the headiest things about adult braces is how West's prose style was pickled in the mid-2010s, so her use of caps lock and exclamation marks acted on me as a powerful Proustian Madeline. Please enjoy this dispatch from Savannah, Georgia, once West discovers that the composer of Jingle Bells also served in the Confederate Army. James L. Pierpont was a little bitch, and I'm glad he got into a drifted bank, and I'm glad he got upsot, TBH. More like shidnight in the shartin of poop and pee-pee. You can trace the exact moment that West decided she wanted to remain a progressive in good standing more than she wanted to take the piss. It happened right after she was brutalized by the social media backlash to her Take No Prisoners blogging persona at Jezebel. It turns out that having thousands of people make fun of you and threaten to rape and murder you can make you feel unsafe in certain spaces for way longer than you expect, she writes of this period in Adult Braces. Much like the liberals driven into the arms of MAGA by a brush with cancellation, West had a taste of vicious misogynistic backlash from internet strangers and retreated into the progressive community of the Pacific Northwest. She went from comparing Hooters to a slavery-themed restaurant in 2009 to having her stand-in character in the TV series Shrill Annie get educated by strippers that their work was actually very empowering. West herself acknowledged the shift in 2016, although she attributed it to learning to be a socially responsible person. She added, "Yeah, please don't read anything of mine from before 2014. Of course, it's one thing to set rigid and unforgiving rules of human conduct. It's quite another to expect anyone to live by them. What killed millennial feminism was the gap between what its high priestesses demanded and what they were able to endure themselves. If you insist that accepting polyamory is the price of being a good person, and then write a book about your throuple where the front cover shows you with mascara-streaked tears running down your face, people will spot the dissonance. Similarly, West's body positivity required her to be superhuman, to be, unlike every other person on the planet, entirely unaffected by waves of strangers criticizing her weight. Her fans demanded that she be permanently fat and permanently happy, and guilt-tripped her for any deviation. Sometimes, when I am doing better and can find the will to cook and think and move and live, I get smaller, she writes in Adult Braces. Once, when I posted a selfie on the far side of a particularly epic depression, I received this comment from a stranger. Can we not watch another fat positive body shrink? As someone with an overfamiliar relationship with the biscuit tin myself, I see 2010's fat activism as an understandable reaction by larger people to being attacked for having an, at the time, incurable metabolic disease. It's not a betrayal to want to be cured of an illness. We don't think statins are for the weak, or that people with high blood pressure just need to learn self-control. Yet both sides of the weight loss debate became attached to impossibly doctrinaire positions. One side argued that no one could possibly be fat and happy. The other, that no one was allowed to be unhappy about being fat. In 2017, West interviewed another icon of millennial feminism, Roxane Gay, and told her, "It is important to talk about the fact that weight loss surgery is dangerous, that people die. It's barbaric that so many people feel pressured to have this surgery that can kill them." Gay agreed, describing the treatment as driven by fat phobia, a surgery to completely rearrange my body for the rest of my life, and I'm going to be nutrient deprived for the rest of my life, and I might die doing this, but that's better than spending another day in this body in this world. Gay had a sleeve gastrectomy in 2018. I don't judge her for that. Gay made a rational decision about the risks of a procedure to expand and prolong her life. But it isn't purely fat phobia that sees doctors recommend weight loss treatments. It isn't social conservatism that has seen so many readers disbelieve West's rapid onset bisexuality. Millennial feminism failed because it was suffocating, immiserating, and often at odds with observable facts about human nature. Today, very few traces of it remain. Jezebel was sold off and closed. Tumblr has withered. The viral internet no longer reliably delivers traffic to epic takedowns of problematic figures, so hungry young freelancers have largely stopped pitching them. The publishing industry's lust for jeremiads about white feminism is over. No one has used the word girl boss unironically in years. A key feminist legal precedent, Roe v. Wade, fell in part because Ruth Bader Ginsburg refused to retire, a fact that makes me wince every time I remember that one of the most lauded books of millennial feminism was Irene Carmoen's notorious RBG. In 2014, West wrote a farewell post to mark the end of her time at Jezebel, headlined, for reasons best known to herself, "My fart will go on." Her Substack is called Butt News, so credit for sticking to a theme. The post ended with some words of advice for her readers. You don't have to be the cool girl. You don't have to pander. You can be funny and sharp and responsible and humane all at the same time. But don't be afraid to defend your boundaries. Call a dick a dick. Stuff is changing. We're winning. Sadly, there was no time for millennial feminism to get tired of all the winning. 9 months later, Donald Trump announced his run for the presidency. That was the death of millennial feminism.
Millennial feminism is apparently dying because some fat chick married a mixed POC guy and found herself in an interracial throuple, apparently. This is all quite, it's a lot. It is a lot to take in at one time. But that's what we're here for today. And like I said, the girls are mad. The girls are upset. I don't understand it all. I'm trying to figure it out.
Lindy West, who, like the 1% of the people who remain reading the New York Times know, she was the subject of a huge profile in What Passes for That paper a couple of weeks ago. And this was done as both a print piece with like huge photos of Lindy, and also as their Modern Love podcast. And we're going to push a deeply, not only false sentiment into the culture. Okay, this woman's a writer and she's shilling her next book. And not only is she going to tell us that in her last book of essays, of personal essays, so something of a memoir, that she lied to her readers. And I'm sorry, when you break that trust with your readers, you can't get it back. That is not something to be trifled with. Now she's telling the truth. Now Lindy's telling the truth. And not only does she love being morbidly obese, does she love it? She got married. And her husband turned around and said to her, you know what I want to do? I want to go fuck other women. There is a movement in the hipster community in which that is called ethical non-monogamy. And that is some bullshit that some hipster dudes came up with to convince women who like to think of themselves as open-minded and they would never offend their husbands having the guts to tell them they want to fuck other women.
Oh, wait. I thought this was the progressive modern thing to do, though. Now, oh no, it's just something dudes came up with. When a woman wants to get out there and live her life and sow her royal female oats, she's just being strong and independent. She's discovering herself. But apparently ethical non-monogamy is just something that hipster dudes came up with so they can have multiple fat chicks.
It's just ethical non-monogamy, she's not only into it, she really loves her husband's girlfriend. She might even have like a girl crush on her, maybe a little bit more. The headline, Lindy West thought she couldn't handle polyamory. She was wrong. Was she?
Look at her, though. She looks like she could handle a lot, though, honestly. I mean, just look. She looks like she could handle a lot. You could measure what she could handle in like tonnage, probably. I know she could. That's a very big back. Big backs are built to carry things.
We're going to go through it together, my friends. Okay. This was published on March 4th, 2026. And the writer is, let me just double check. Oh, Anna Martin. Anna Martin wrote this and conducted the interview. We're going to look before we get into the pod real fast, the Daily Mail. Woke Seattle writer claims she's no longer devastated by husband's demand. That's the proper word for open marriage. Oh my God, I didn't even get to this part.
Woke Seattle writer. So this is a left-wing white woman up in the left-wing enclave of the Pacific Northwest, right? That's up there in Seattle where it never stops raining or something like that. And she's got her a nice brown guy. It's a woke woman's dream, right?
Because we were like running out of time for production. She had a threesome with him and his girlfriend. And that's the proper nomenclature. She's the wife, but she was the third party in the sex between him and his girlfriend. Oh my God, get some fucking self-respect. Lindy, the New York Times lead. See what I mean? You'll see what I mean. Whenever non-monogamy comes up in conversation, this is Anna writing with my friends, and we are 30-somethings in Brooklyn, so this is not infrequent.
That's what they do, huh?
Oh God, I can't. And you know what else?
So poly is the new monogamy? That's like some pimp shit. Because pimps say that like 1 is none and 2 is only a few. So you got to have a couple. So poly is like the new monogamy for like liberal white people. All right. We're learning things. I'm taking notes too.
Hate this phrase that has now entered the lexicon called like opening up a marriage. Like if you're going to do it, just be grammatically correct. Okay. Be grammatically correct. It's opening, not opening up. Opening up is redundant. If you're opening something, it's open. Come on in. All comers. Anyone who wants to fuck your spouse, come on in. Anna continues at the end of her moving and hilarious first memoir, Shrill. I mean, that really landed in the culture, did it not? Lindy marries the love of her life. His name is difficult to pronounce, so she calls him Aham. We'll get into it in the pod. I'm sorry. But there was something she didn't share with her readers at the time. Okay, so she gave herself a fake happy ending in her book of personal essays. Oh, the fat girl found love. I sound like Miranda Priestley in The Devil Wears Prada.
There is something very cliche about this whole thing. Overweight white woman, random brown guy with a hard to pronounce name. Somehow they fall in love and they're just trying to make it work.
When she looks at Andy and she's like, I'm so disappointed. I said to myself, go ahead, take a chance on the fat girl. Aham did not want their relationship to be monogamous. Oh, and by the way, the comments on this piece and this pod are off. They're off. And the New York Times, if you're going to pump whatever shit you're going to pump out into the culture, whatever op-eds you're going to do, leave your fucking comments on, okay? At least.
I'll tell you, the girls are mad right now. The girls are really pissed about this New York Times article. And it's not just the article. It's like a whole media push. I've seen a couple of different media pieces from this thing right now.
Hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad.
This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology.
Time has expired.
My life was threatened. Thank you.
Hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad.
Have the courage of what passes for your convictions, okay? And if the subjects of your profiles get offended, that's on them. You're gonna put this stuff out in the culture. You better be able to fucking take it. You know what I'm saying? Stop disabling your comments, New York Times. All right, let's listen to Lindy. Let's get into it. This big feminist rebel named Lindy West. Here's what she imagined marriage would be like. And if you think she thought it was going to be this unconventional, unorthodox, hipster Brooklyn bullshit, well, we'll see together. Here we go.
When you got married, what did you hope your future would look like?
So I think I just imagined that we would stay on the sort of traditional track. I thought we would probably have a baby and buy a house.
So she wanted to have a husband that was faithful to her. That's implicit. Have a baby. Presumably Lindy isn't taking the morning after pill after every time she has sex. And take out a jumbo loan so they could buy a house and just be like normal people. Whatever normal is. You know what I mean? Now, we're going to get to the meat of this piece. Lindy and Aham. I think I'm saying his name right. I just want to say Ahab, like, Moby Dick. This isn't working out, Lindy. None of it's working out.
I think his name is actually pronounced Ahem. Yeah, it's an odd name, but I think it's pronounced Ahem.
So Lindy and Aham break up a bunch of times and then they get back together. That's always a good sign. But there are new rules, and Lindy's basically going to admit that her man is setting all the rules and she's just abiding by them. What is this? Some little woman shit. Here we go.
We got back together. But part of that was Aham was like, I've been divorced twice by age 27, and I feel like possessiveness and jealousy had a lot to do with both of those relationships collapsing. And I want us to be not together because we're trapped and locked together in a prison of love.
She knows this is bullshit. Her laughing, oh God, what I would give to have Mark Bowden here right now. She knows it's bullshit. What he's telling her, I've been married and divorced twice by age 27. He's telling her he cheated on both of his wives, and he's not going to be able to be faithful. And this fucking Jedi mind trick these guys are using, don't you want to be cool enough to not be together because like we're like forced to be together? Then don't fucking get married. Don't get married. Problem solved. Lindy, if you're going to position yourself as an intellectual in the culture, you got to explain this to me, sister. Why on earth would you get into a marriage with this guy? Why on earth would you enter something that is so easy to get into and so fucking difficult to get out of? You want to divorce this guy? Guess who's walking away with half of your salary that you earned that whole marriage? Trust me, this guy's an artist. We've never heard of him. She's making what passes for money in that house, okay? And I'm not being a snob about it. I'm just being like, you're artists, you're creatives, you're nonconformists. I'm all for nonconformists. Trust me, I went to art school. Do you know what I'm saying? This is just bullshit. So he's trying to brainwash her. No, we're too cool for regular marriage. We're going to have the kind of marriage that has us getting STD panels once a month.
Sounds progressive, though. Isn't that what the progressives have to deal with now? Isn't that just life in the throuple? And look, here's another example of the throuple. I'm telling you, they're going to ban throuples because men are just turning them into like some type of new modern neo-harems.
We are a hierarchical polyamorous triad.
Every day, I will come home and I will greet Quinn first, and then I will greet Trinket. I greet Quinn at the door first because it is part of our hierarchy.
We don't have to worry about like jealousy because we just have already pre-discussed everything.
We have a structure that we use to make sure that everybody is satisfied. It does go with needs and wants. So in that hierarchy, it's my needs, their needs, and then my wants, their wants.
Hierarchy means that one person is the primary partner in the relationship and the other person is the secondary partner in the relationship. So I am married to Nexus, but Trinket is our girlfriend. And so he's my primary partner.
Her name is Trinket. There's no way in hell your mom and dad agreed to give you a name Trinket. I can't imagine two people who don't even love their kid, let alone love their kid. Like parents who don't even like their kids wouldn't name you Trinket.
My secondary partner.
I see we're already inventing new forms of mental illness in 2026. Just to recap, their names are Quinn, Nexus, and Trinket, because of course they are. One thing about people in poly relationships is they all have names like this. They all look like this, and they all smell like that. So this other girl, Trinket, is basically the designated side bitch, a side bitch by trade, an in-home home wrecker. This is basically a girl brought home for a threesome one night that just wouldn't leave. It's like a love triangle, but with 3 obtuse angles, because none of them are acute. And that's a good joke. Imagine I said it in a thick Italian accent. None of them are acute. Trinket, you know, her name is Trinket. Trinket is ironically just a little trinket for the two of them to play with. Trinket even has of little value in the definition of the word. I mean, Jesus Christ, Trinket, please locate some dignity.
I do have my own room, but I do sleep with them in their bed whenever life allows.
You mean whenever wife allows? I wonder if she sleeps at the foot of the bed like a dog.
So out of respect for our relationship, we just let Nexus eat first, and then I have some, and then Trinket has some.
They eat his leftovers? What the fuck? We let Nexus eat first, and then we get the scraps. Well, I get the scraps, and then Trinket gets the scraps of my scraps.
This sounds like some type of adult film content relationship. It's like a really long form pornographic film.
Yeah, Trinket just gets to lick the plate when I'm done. And then, of course, do the dishes. I'm surprised he doesn't just chew their food for them and spit it in their mouths like a mother bird. Ah, yes. A white man hierarchizing a black woman followed by an Asian woman. Surely this is too woke for even the wokest of wokes. It's like a wormhole of wokeness that closes in on itself. Oh.
Look, I'm telling you, we have gone so far progressive that we're going to just like stumble up on conservative patriarchal monogamy. You know that thing about like you went so far to the left, you wound up on the right again? That's basically what's happening. All because of some fat chick and a poly couple and a throuple ship. A polycule, that's what they're calling them.
Lindy West's new memoir has everyone debating the ethics of polyamory after it seems like she admitted that her husband more or less coerced her into the dynamic. West is now part of what she claims is a happy throuple, but the revelation that her husband wanted to open up their marriage sent her into tears and was something that she had to spend months talking herself into. She told the New York Times that she was, quote, devastated, and that her initial conversation with him was a lot of her crying and being like, I don't want anyone else. And yet, ultimately, because she was more or less given an ultimatum and told it's this way or the highway, she let her husband's girlfriend in on the dynamic. Her husband presented her with all manner of explanation for why he wanted to open up the marriage, including saying that it's a system built on ownership, and perhaps the fact that he's a person of color gave him a greater awareness of this fact than her. And the reality of her dynamic sounds kind of sad. She said that she loves sleeping in the guest room and crawling into bed with them in the morning. And it sort of sounds like she's been sidelined in her own marriage. Polyamory is obviously a very difficult dynamic to traverse. And I think this situation sort of goes to show that coercion cannot be a part of it. Being given ultimatums can have people compromise themselves in their own desires and talk themselves into something that feels less progressive and more like the patriarchy.
Polyamory is just a pathway to the patriarchy now. That's all that's really happening. The girls have figured it out. Guys, pack it up. It's time to go home. We've been found out. Polyamory is just a path to the patriarchy. Gotta find a new hustle, y'all.
All it took was one insane interview to turn just about everyone against polyamory. Last week, writer Lindy West went on a popular podcast to promote her new book, which details how her husband cajoled her into polyamory. That is, letting him sleep with other women. He fell in love with someone else, and now the trio supposedly live in harmony. She says she's happy, but that's a tough sell. The incident highlighted an uncomfortable truth. When men want to open up their heterosexual relationships, it's usually because they want to cheat without feeling bad. This works because monogamy can be cast as conservative.
I mean, isn't that the exact same reason why women do it, though? It's not like only men introduced this idea. I've heard plenty of stories where women introduced the idea, but somehow only men get the blame. It's weird. Did men invent polyandry or polyamory or whatever? They keep trying to say this is something that a couple of hipster dudes in Williamsburg came up with. I need names.
That's a tough sell. The incident highlighted an uncomfortable truth. When men want to open up their heterosexual relationships, it's usually because they want to cheat without feeling bad. This works because monogamy can be cast as conservative and oppressive, while the oldest trick in the book, sleeping with multiple women at a time, is reframed as progressive. This is all wrong. What's really a sign of progress is that we can now expect marriages to be monogamous, faithful, and founded on mutual respect and love.
What if marriages were always like that, though? What if that was always the basic idea and you guys are just being retarded and weird? And now you've been so retarded and so weird for so long. You've gone so far. You've come all the way back around. So you know what? I just want to be loved by one guy who loves me, and we're going to try to make it work forever. It's like you went all the way around the world and wound up right back where you started.
Polyamory is the old school way of doing things, and thank God times have changed. Read my piece in Free Expression. Go to WSJ.com, find the Free Expression tab, and sign up for the newsletter today.
Yeah. I found the article. I'm not going to read it to y'all. It's too much. It's way too much. You should have gave me an article that was text to speech. But it does raise an interesting question, though. Are people just naturally monogamous or polyamorous or what? Because I've been thinking about this. I have some thoughts on the idea. We're going to come back around to that in a minute.
Let's take a look at the girlfriend. Here is a photo of Lindy with Aham and the girlfriend. The girlfriend's on the
I
right.
keep telling you, his name is pronounced ahem. All right? It's like Arabic or something.
Lindy, it can't be both. He can't be attracted to the both of you. You both look nothing alike. She is your polar opposite. She looks like an elf. He's using you. He's using you for your very minor fame and all the things that you do for him. He is spending time, he's taking time from you and your relationship with him, your ostensible relationship with him, and he's spending your money, doubtless your money, at this point to travel to see her at least once a month. So he's literally leaving your house.
He leaves the house. She doesn't even like live there with them to like help save on bills and stuff. Damn, that's like a little mini vacation every time he go over there. That's like he get to take a day off from the relationship. You ever took a day off from your relationship? That sounds crazy. I wouldn't even know. The new things they're doing today.
Where I'm sure you pay all the bills to go hang out with his girlfriend, who objectively he finds more attractive. But
no, don't do that. Don't say he finds more attractive. Say that she is more attractive. I hate when chicks do that. I hate when chicks play around with words, try to hide things to clean up feelings and whatnot. This is why your hair don't match your eyebrows. Bitches be lying so much all the time. Look at this shit. Say the right thing. She is a more attractive woman. Not even like she's a baddie or nothing, but like compared to a big fat chick and she's like thin and smiling, it's an easy thing to say. Why you can't just say that shit?
He finds more attractive girlfriend.
Look at the picture.
Is spending
Look at
time.
the picture.
He's taking time.
Picture. Look at it. Come on, just be honest about it.
With Aham and the girlfriend. The girlfriend's on the right. Lindy, it can't be both. He can't be attracted to the both of you. You both look nothing alike. She is your polar opposite. She looks like an elf. He's using you. He's using you for your very minor fame and all the things that you do for him. He is spending time, he's taking time from you and your relationship with him, your ostensible relationship with him, and he's spending your money, doubtless your money, at this point to travel to see her at least once a month. So he's literally leaving your house, where I'm sure you pay all the bills, to go hang out with his girlfriend, who objectively he finds more attractive. But Lindy's going to tell us that she had a moment of self-actualization amidst this misery that is the life she has constructed for herself. And make no mistake, she's not a passive victim here. She's not. She needs a lot of therapy, a lot of therapy.
And this whole thing, it brings up another conversation for me. And I'm thinking about this as a scientific reality, an objective phenomenon, perhaps. I gotta bring this issue up to the front, but we're gonna come back to this in a second. We are gonna come back to this in a minute, but I've been thinking about this issue.
So many times I hear women crying about the top men cheating. You know, they'll say this is degeneracy, this is so awful and evil, top men for having multiple women. Now, as you guys know, I'm not in the business of telling men how to live their lives. You guys can do what you want, not my problem. And I'm not in the business of making the world the way I want it to be. The top men have always had multiple women, even in the Bible. Okay, even in the Bible. Now, it's interesting because every woman that did not wait till marriage for her husband in some way participated in polygamy. Now, what women do is they get this gotcha, right? So when women have the choice to be with multiple men, and if you're not waiting for your husband, then you are with multiple men. Unless you're a virgin on your wedding night, you're with one person. True monogamy is one person for a lifetime. But I never hear trad conservatives talk about how it's evil and degenerate when the women do not wait till marriage. What I hear is and see is, oh, you didn't wait till marriage, then you said sorry, come on my podcast, here's a speaking career, here you go, ladies. Or the men, when they have multiple women, because again, men do not have the opportunity to have multiple women typically until they're older, right? So late 20s, 30s, 40s, that's when they have the option. And then the women will say, oh, you evil men for doing that. But on the other hand, we never hear, oh, the evil women for not waiting till they're married. So I don't want to hear this crying about it unless you chicas were virgins on your wedding day, which statistically is less than 3% of women. So women really have zero leg to stand on this. And a lot of women play this stupid, game, and I'm just getting tired of it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Maybe today we're not doing a show, but tomorrow I'm going to be doing a call-in show, and sign up to our memberships on the audacitynetwork.com.
I want to go back to a clip that I found a couple of months ago. It's from the Breakfast Club. And I'm thinking about the concept of monogamy. There was a guest on the Breakfast Club recently who kind of went viral a little bit for saying that monogamy is just for white people.
I mean, like all the people that I know that are good at monogamy or good at just that sort of nuclear family are white. And so I
disagree with that. What do you mean?
No, all the people I'm talking about personally through my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so this topic excites
Go
me a
ahead.
lot.
Okay.
And I'm just like, it's so much responsibility to put on one man in a house.
What, to be
So
faithful?
like, well, I'm speaking about for me. Yeah,
Okay.
I would say to
How
be
old are you?
faithful. I'm 30.
You're 30. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
To
you still
be-
got a different type of dick than us.
Oh
We've been
my
through that.
God.
And well, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's like you're faithful man now.
Now, yes.
But there was a time you're supposed to provide. You're supposed to go out and deal with all the shit in the world that you're protecting your family from, your girls.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to go out, provide,
Protect.
deal with all this shit, protect.
Yeah.
And someone gets to tell you what you can and can't do with your dick as well. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh damn.
Well, I don't think it's about somebody telling you what you can and can't do. When you decide to make vows with a woman and you tell God, this is the woman that I want to spend the rest of my life with and be faithful, you made that commitment.
I mean, like,
now, again, this clip went around a couple of months back, and I've been thinking about it since then. This connection between ethnicity and what do you call reproductive patterns, right? Let's put it that way. Ethnicity and reproductive patterns. Because when I listen to a lot of, like, especially the Black progressive liberal types talk about these things, they tend to always blame or frame at least the concept of patriarchy and traditional nuclear family as something the white man imposed.
Ask y'all this. I saw somebody talking about this and I thought it was interesting. They said people don't realize that the reason why a lot of Black women are dissed and we are talked bad about in other cultures and in our own culture. Why? Because we're not married, we're single, and we're baby mothers. But they're like, this is all has to do with our proximity with Black men. So how do y'all feel about that conversation of, like, people, every time they diss a Black woman, it has something to do with a Black men not marrying us, Black men not stepping up and being good fathers, and things that have to do with that?
I'm gonna say this, right? So, the world sees the world through the lens of white people because of colonialism. So, who created this, like, puritanical, monogamous culture? Now, I'm not finna sit here and cape like niggas need all these wives. That ain't what I'm saying.
But you are saying that white people created, in your words, a puritanical monogamous culture. Those are two concepts: puritanical, monogamous, right? So the Puritans were basically what? Sexual discipline, probably no drugs, no alcohol. They probably only sing religious music. That's puritanical. And then there's monogamous, which honestly, monogamy and puritanical basically go together. You need not say them both. Monogamy is puritanical.
Of white people because of colonialism. So who created this, like, puritanical, monogamous culture? Now, I'm not finna sit here and cape like niggas need all these wives. That ain't what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, the standard of marriage in our relationship to women it was given example to us from white people and how they related to their women.
Right.
So we know white niggas hate their women, low key. You know what I'm saying? Like, the only thing Black men had the right to vote before white women. That tell you a lot about this country.
Right. Yeah.
That tell you a lot about white men in general.
Right.
What does that tell you about white men, that they gave Black men the right to vote, but they didn't give women the right to vote? What is that supposed to mean? And I hate how the girls just nod along and they allow dudes to get off these, like, just sort of one-off type of statements that don't really have a meaning unless you ask them what it means. But it sounds good on the front, It's like the lipstick on a pig thing, You're putting something on the front of it to make it look good, but I don't think it doesn't look right still. When I really look at it, it's still like a pig,
I think for me, we do need to be more mindful of, like, family structure, family breakdown, how we do those things. But we also got to be mindful that we was doing all that shit before crack.
Yeah. Crack. I always say this is the issue.
Nigga, that shit broke everything down. I keep the reason I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but I'm telling you that war on drugs destroyed literally every facet of our community. I'm not saying baby mamas didn't exist before then, but I'm pretty sure they exist at the same rate they do for everybody else.
Are you pretty sure, or do you know for a fact? I gotta tell you, I really do feel like the CIA and various shadow groups, because CIA is too much of a known thing. It's probably some agency you never heard of before. It's like the niggas that Sterling Archer worked for, that agency. It's like I know there's some type of group that's putting money into the podcast realm, because you got a lot of people who don't know shit, but they're like popular in the podcast world for allegedly knowing things.
I think we talk about our businesses, we talk about everything, every aspect of our neighborhood and our community. We was thriving.
Yeah,
Like
we were.
Reconstruction, niggas was thriving. Yes, thriving under the threat of Jim Crow and constant violence from white people, thriving under the threat of being thrown in prison for the rest of your life to work on a chain gang.
Is that are you saying that the only reason Black men and Black women actually had a high marriage rate and a high birth rate, and actually a decent amount of economic success moving up into like the 40s and 50s, are you saying that's only because of Jim Crow? The white man oppressed us into family structure and economic growth? Is that what you're really trying to tell me? The white man oppressed us into family structure and economic development. Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle.
Or be hung for having too much. Thriving under the threat of I own all this land and a white man could just come over here and kill me and take my shit. Still thriving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, free market capitalism is white people's it's the free market, until Black people build a Wall Street. Now we're gonna drop bombs in America because Black people doing too good.
It's always when we catch on, shoes.
Yeah, but what I think the thing is
am I really, I hate to be this way, I hate to be this way, because that's twice now in like a 2-minute clip. He did some real heavy nose rubbing. Do you guys think cocaine is involved in this at all? I don't know. Maybe I've seen too much. Maybe I'm suspicious. I could just be wrong. But do you think cocaine is at play here at all?
That when we left alone, they don't know how to leave us alone, because when we left alone, we build and we do our thing and we do for each other.
He rubbed his nose really, really hard, like 2 different times. And I'm just like, why though? Watch, we're gonna run this back a little bit. Just to count the nose rubs. Starting out with 1.
Want another one?
I got a little special potion in mine.
Yeah, she got
it
one
liquor, though.
Yeah.
Because see, these girls, they be drinking. They drinking. I'm noticing he's not a big drinker. Everybody has their thing. But I notice he's a nose rubber. While they're drinking, his nose gets very like itchy and scratchy.
They on the way. So before we get to the next topic, I do want to ask y'all this. I saw somebody talking about this and I thought it was interesting. They said people don't realize that the reason why a lot of Black women are dissed and we are talked bad about in other cultures and in our own culture. Why? Because we're not married, we're single, and we're baby mothers. But they're like, this is all has to do with our proximity with Black men. So how do y'all feel about that conversation of like people, every time they diss a Black woman, it has something to do with a black men not marrying us, Black men not stepping up and being good fathers, and things that have to do with that?
I'm gonna say this, right? So the world sees the world through the lens of white people because of colonialism. So who created this like puritanical monogamous culture? Now I'm not finna sit here and take like niggas need all these wives. That ain't what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like the standard of marriage in our relationship.
Am I being too overly critical? That was we got a random snort. We got a lot of hard, aggressive nose rubbing. Am I being overly critical here? That was a really hard snort that actually goes along with the aggressive nose rubbing.
Miss culture. Now I'm not finna sit here and take like niggas need all these wives. That ain't what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like the standard of marriage.
You know what? Maybe I'm tripping. I take it back. Maybe it's really cold in the room and he's got like, that's why he put on a hoodie. That's why he's wearing a sweatshirt and these girls got on like the cocktail dresses. Maybe he's cold and he's coming down with the chills or something. He got like you know, a runny nose or something. Maybe the nigga got allergies. Maybe he an allergenic nigga.
In our relationship to women it was given example to us from white people and how they related to their women.
Right.
So we know white niggas hate their women, low key. You know what I'm saying? Like the only thing that, I mean, black men had the right to vote before white women. That tell you a lot about this country.
Right. Yeah.
That tell you a lot about white men in general.
Right.
I think for me.
All right, so we started this clip out with a nose rub. A minute later, we get a really hard, like a really aggressive grunt. And now we got another hard nose rub.
We do need to be more mindful of like family structure, family breakdown, how we do those things. But we also got to be mindful that we was doing all that shit before crack.
Yeah.
Crack. I always say this is the issue.
Nigga, that shit broke everything down.
She said crack like really excitedly too. Like she had fond memories back in the day of crack in her house.
We do need to be more mindful of like family structure, family breakdown, how we do those things. But we also got to be mindful that we was doing all that shit before crack.
Yeah.
Crack. I always say this is the issue.
Nigga, that shit broke everything down. The reason I'm gonna sound like a.
There's another. So we're at 3 nose rubs and a snort. 3 nose rubs and a snort. And we're only like 2 minutes in. Not even a whole 2 minutes.
Broken record, but I'm telling you that war on drugs destroyed literally every facet of our community. I'm not saying baby mamas didn't exist before then, but I'm pretty sure they exist at the same rate they do for everybody else. I think we talk about our businesses, we talk about everything, every aspect.
4, that's 1, 2, 3, that's 4 coke nose rubs. Count them with me. That's 1, 2, 3. That's 4 coke, bro. How many times is this man gonna rub his nose in it? Do you think his nose is just naturally itchy? Is my count off? Is my count off? Am I losing my ability to recall things? That was 4 coke nose rubs, right? And a snort. Because, you know, sometimes you can feel the particles falling down out of your sinuses. You got to snort them back up in there where they can do some good. 4 coke nose rubs, right? Is that just me? Was that just me?
Of our neighborhood and our community, we was thriving.
Yeah.
The nigga nose is probably red, but he got makeup on. The nigga nose would be red, but he got a good makeup team.
Like Reconstruction, niggas was thriving. Yes, thriving under the threat of Jim Crow and constant violence from white people. Thriving under the threat of being thrown in prison for the rest of your life to work on a chain gang or be hung for having too much. Thriving under the threat of I own all this land and a white man could just come over here and kill me and take my shit. Still thriving. Okay, free market capitalism is white people's it's the free market until black people build a Wall Street. Now we're gonna drop bombs in America because black people doing too good.
It's always one.
That's 5. That's 5 coke rubs, boys and girls. That's 5 whole coke rubs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coke rubs, boys and girls, in one clip. How many times can a man rub his... You know what? I didn't even watch this whole hour and a half video. Like, they probably took bathroom breaks and shit. Because, you know, for an hour and a half of footage, they probably shot maybe 2 hours. They were probably in there. They didn't just do this whole thing in one smooth cut. They edited some stuff out. They went and redid some stuff. They did some stuff. You know, they moved stuff around. Nigga got up. They had to go in the bathroom, bang on the door. Come on, yo, we got to finish this. You know what I mean? That's 5 in this one clip. That feels like an incredible amount of times to rub your nose and snort. He didn't just rub his nose, he snorted too. That's a lot. Am I bugging y'all? Am I bugging? I'm willing to admit that I might be tripping. Every now and then I don't tie my shoes right and I be tripping. It's the thing that happens, and I am not afraid to say that I might be tripping. But if I'm tripping, I just need y'all to tell me that I'm tripping. Am I tripping, y'all? Is that a lot of like cocaine nose rubs happening? It seems like a lot, don't it? Say he on that pink stuff. That's that Bolivian pink, ain't it? Don't the pink stuff come from Bolivia? Trying to tell you, he's on that good. He's on that stuff. Crazy work here. It's crazy work here.
When we catch on, shoot.
Yeah, but what I think the thing is that when we left alone, they don't know how to leave us alone, because when we left alone, we build and we do our thing and we do for each other.
Yeah.
And I think that
let's see if you're gonna go one more time. It's been like 2.5 minutes. Let's see if he goes for one more nose rub.
The biggest thing about colonialism is that it needs to be in your business.
Yeah.
And the only way to be in your business is to constantly disrupt your business. So I think for me, I don't really, if you only gonna talk about the effects of things and not the causes, I don't really want to have no conversation with you, because
Okay, I like
everything,
that.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to
There's another
today
one.
at 4, if you
Damn, bro. Damn. That is the runniest nose. That nigga knows where Nikes. He got the runniest nose in the world. Nah, I think we up to 6, bro. I think we up to 6 already. That was 6 times since like the 52-minute mark. Now we're up to like 55 minutes, bro. That was like 6 hits, man. I counted 6 nose rubs and a snort. The snort took it over the top for me already. 2 nose rubs and a snort was good for me. We're up to 6 now, bro. I gotta tell you, this is an amazing thing to watch play out. Let me see if we're gonna go for 7. We got 54 minutes and 47 seconds, y'all. We started at like 52.
start therapy right now, what's the first thing they're gonna want to address? Your childhood.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna want to get into the root causes of this behavior. So if we want to get into if we want to look at the behavior of Black people, what are the causes? And these are the effects of these behaviors.
Now, he's also saying that white people are the causes of Black behavior. Let's not forget that. I had a whole question at the beginning of this, and I'm totally sidetracked by counting up cocaine behaviors.
You can't tell a community that was ravaged by a drug that took mothers out the home, fathers out the home, incarcerated them, make moms like Black moms. The standard of mothers in America raising white people babies now are bad mothers. Y'all tripping, bro. I don't be wanting to hear that shit.
Okay.
But I think a lot of times too, it's just like,
he said because Black women used to be in white women's houses raising kids and stuff, that means Black moms are good moms.
We also need to be, that's not an excuse. Okay? If we don't talk about the causes
of
the behavior, then we won't fix the behavior, because then we'll just make excuses. But I think...
There we go. There we go. Lucky number 7, y'all. Lucky number 7, y'all. Come on. Come on. That is a lot of nose rubbing. I can't believe what I'm looking at. This totally threw my whole show off. I had a whole other train of thought. Now I could just do like 30 minutes riffing off this nigga's cocaine habits. Damn, bro, 7 times? I got now. You know what, man? Let's go for the crazy 8. Come on, let's go for the crazy 8. Let's just see.
For me, if we know the root causes, then we have to fix the behaviors, even if we living in the effects. Like, oh, my daddy wasn't there, so
like I don't even care what the nigga talk about no more. I'm not even really worried about the knowledge, the facts, the presentation. I just want to watch a cokehead do his thing. You are watching a master at work.
What? Be there for your children, or don't have children.
That's what we need to talk about.
We do. We were definitely just set up to fail here in America. It's just so many instances where not only were people doing the drugs in our community, but also in
This is such an ironic conversation, by the way.
the early 90s, you had so many young black men going to jail for having small amounts of weed on them, and they were giving them life sentences. That happened to my dad, to my biological dad.
And now they owning dispensary.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
millionaires.
Now it's legal.
The nigga just put his whole elbow up to his nose. Oh my God. Oh no. Oh no. I'm done. I'm done. He just put his whole elbow up to his nose. Nah.
They own a dispensary.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
millionaires.
Now it's legal.
Oh man. He doing all the things. He's doing all the moves. Yeah. The count is crazy on that one. The count is crazy. I was going for the crazy 8. And he hit me with the sleeve wipe. I was like, oh, stop. I didn't even know he was going to bust out all the extra moves. Nah. You know what? You got that one. You got that, Deontay. I'm going to let you be great. I just had to watch for a minute to make sure I was looking at exactly what I was looking at. I've seen these behaviors out before in the wild. I've studied these in the field. I know exactly what I'm looking at. That is wild business right there. I feel like we learned something today about the Black community grift, about saving the Black community. You know, saving the community is hard on a brother. Sometimes, you know, you work hard, you play hard, you party hard. Some people like to party. Some people really like to party. But the question at hand, let's get this back to what I was asking. The question I was asking, though, is monogamy really like a Black thing? Because a lot of these people really do kind of like attribute monogamy to like the imposition of colonization and the Christian moral basic framework. And I wonder if there's some truth in that, though.
Our species norm is polygyny, where you have 80% of cultures on the anthropological record have been polygynous, where you have high status men have multiple wives and low status men have no wives. Christianity is unusual in insisting on monogamy. We inherited it from Rome. It was a very important component of 2,000 years of Christian civilization, which now, of course, we're mostly rejected. And even though legally you're still only allowed to marry one person, having sex outside of marriage is now completely socially permissible, and so people are in practice being drawn back towards our species norm, having lifted the monogamous restriction. But I argue in the book, and I think really strongly, that monogamous restriction produces much better outcomes, particularly for women and for low status men. But there are all sorts of ways in which monogamous cultures do better than polygynous cultures: lower crime rates, lower domestic violence rates, less economic inequality, all sorts of good outcomes that come with insisting on monogamy. Our species norm.
Now, what this young woman here is arguing is that the norm of humanity is polygamy, essentially. Multiple partners for men and women, because women, women like to get around too. And I wonder how true that really is, though. I think that as a biological reality, perhaps polygamy it's an imperative, just because reproduction is a biological imperative. So there's always going to be just draw on a raw physical level. But I don't think that I think for any real civilization of note, almost everybody was relatively monogamous with, obviously people misbehave or whatnot. There's always going to be infidelities and things, and the wealthier men will always have more options. So that's just a thing you can never escape in human nature. But as I really look at it, it seems like almost any culture of note going back historically, they were basically monogamous, though. And especially when you talk about like around Europe and the Mediterranean, even I'm going back further into like the Mesopotamian, And then Red Illusion says polygamy works before humans realize polygamy worked before humans realized paternal lineage. They just thought babies randomly came out. And I think that does track a little bit in terms of like the growth, the development of agriculture maybe. But again, because every real civilization of note depends on agriculture as a base to feed everybody. Again, all these basic civilizations have monogamy as its basic concept, right? Which it's ironic considering the whole show today, we're talking about monogamy and polygamy and polyamory and all that, and how the progressives have torn down all the structures to monogamy, the morality of it all. And now they've kind of found themselves right back to where it all started. Because apparently they realized that, polyamory is just the patriarchy too. But not only is polyamory the patriarchy, it's like the very old, most primitive form of it, where like the one guy gets almost all the women to himself. The movie Braveheart was basically about that. Like, I'm not going to say the whole war between Scots and England was basically about this one thing. But if you watch the movie Braveheart, and Mel Gibson is leading all of his Scottish clans in a fight for independence against the crown, you realize the act that kicked it off was basically an act of forced polyamory or something like that, if you put it that way. The phrase for it was prima nocta, where any woman who was getting married by law had to give her wedding night to the noble leader, whoever he may be, because he was always going to be a British guy. So they were literally going to start a genetic conflict in the Scottish by breeding with their women forcibly. And that was what kicked the whole movie off, right? But again, going back to this connection to, agrarian culture and all that, I think that's attacking the very identity of the men of the country, which is, why in the movie terms, which is why they could all rise up and understand the cause and all that. Plus, they had already been getting abused by England and all that stuff. This is just one more like aggressive thing done to them. Well, one more offensive thing. And you say monogamy also removes the need for constant fights over women, so the men can focus on greater tasks, which again, personal development, individual family development, right? I'm going to build this farm up. I'm going to build this house up. I'm going to perfect my business while the woman is at home perfecting the house, right? And without monogamy, you basically get like, I don't know, bands of roving men and boys looking to take some shit. They all want to like rob and steal until they can rob and steal enough to become the next king or the guy with all the bitches. I don't think liberals really have a framework for discussing that level of behavior, that level of human behavior. But I'm starting to, I really do think that monogamy is just like the basic form of civilization, not necessarily biological human beings, but in order to have a civilization worth being in, there has to be some level of monogamy broadly accepted by the people.
Men who accumulate status and power and are not confined by institutional rules or strong social norms have more female partners than ordinary men. As the Harvard biologist Richard Wrangham has written, if a male wins power, he will tend to use it to mate with as many females as possible. In most post-agricultural societies throughout history, such as among the Aztecs, Babylonians, Chinese, Egyptians, Incans, Indians, and Romans, harems of hundreds of women were often the norm for kings, emperors, and pharaohs. The largest number of children that any man has ever had is 888. This individual was a Moroccan emperor named Ishmael the Bloodthirsty, who reigned from 1672 to 1727. Equivalently powerful women throughout history, such as Cleopatra, did not accumulate large harems of hundreds of attractive young men. They could have, but they didn't. To be clear, not all powerful men follow this specific pattern. Alexander the Great never showed more than a passing interest in women and fathered just a single child by the time he died at age 32. But Alexander bucked the trend.
Pretty sure Alexander was Alexander was a little bit gay. He don't count. That nigga don't count. That nigga don't count. But anyway, we're gonna wrap this talk up. I'm gonna get up out of here. I just want to had a few words about this little incident I seen brewing up on the internet. These girls are getting upset about the end of girl boss feminism. They girl boss so hard they're gonna have to go get husbands now. They girl boss themselves right back into the patriarchy. Goddamn shame what happened to these girls. But hit that like button on your way out, guys. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll be back later on with another one.
Aspiring to be patriarchs like what white men have, that isn't freedom. That isn't going to help anybody. It's certainly not going to help Black people.
It's done. It's done. It's done.